Hello guys, it is me, Jet M, the Blue Dragon, and this time for the final topic in the red pill of the universe, I will be talking about the manifestation of life and death, or at least in the conclusion. So, but before I talk about life and death, I want to go over specific facts as to what stuff I talked about. During the earlier segments of the red pill of the universe, I talked about how there is no such thing as dark matter. The only reason why we call it dark matter is because as we turn off the the only reason why we call it dark matter is because in a dark environment it's invisible because it doesn't produce light. You are a perfect example of this, or an experiment that you can do that dark matter does not exist. Take a picture of your room during the day, and then take a picture of the exact same room at night, and then compare the two. The universe works the same way. Another thing is that how black holes and general relativity also may not exist. As for general relativity, time is a construct. It does not physically exist. As for relativity, space itself does not warp or bend. And as you will see, the space around my room will not bend, and time does not physically exist. An example like this: a battery. As you see, the space around me does not get warped or changed in any way. The only reason why that this battery is going up and down is because of gravity and the contents that are within this battery. It has nothing to do with time or space. However, and another thing that general relativity is flawed is not just taking a battery, but also a bird feather. A bird feather is made of stuff. It has nothing to do with time, or the space around me gets warped. As I throw the bird feather, as you see, the space around me does not warp. The time does not physically exist. The difference between a battery and a peacock feather is basically the size, shape, mass, and composition. That's the nature of gravity. As you will see, the heavy metals and stuff that are in this battery will cause the effect of gravity to be a cause of the effect of this battery will fall much faster than a bird feather. As you will see, put these two together, throw them up. As you see, the battery lands first. And as you see, as I throw these up in the air, they fall due to the nature of gravity, not space-time relativity or time. Because time is a construct and does not physically exist. And the space around these batteries, or the space around my room, does not get warped, changed in any way. It's stationary. It's set. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, and as for black holes, I have recently discovered that black holes may not exist, or if not yet only due to an illusion in our perception. As I was typing on Facebook, and one of the people said to me, who is a believer in black holes, says virtually every single celestial object is spinning. Black holes have the most matter, therefore the most energy. and gradually the most spin. Think of spin as more energy. And so, that may be true. However, that doesn't make any sense, because what do you mean by most matter? Just because, well, so the irony about that is that not everything is reduced to matter. You can have something like Jupiter that has high gravity, or you can have the moon, which has low gravity. Just because that they have, or something like a marble versus a pinball. The pinball is going to be heavier than a marble, despite it being size, because of its composition. Or a neutron star versus a normal star. The neutron star is more dense, and therefore it would be more heavier than just a regular star. Just because that a black hole, just because you say a black hole has more matter in it, especially the irony that people that like Neil deGrasse Tyson say, oh, nothing can escape a black hole, anything just completely disintegrates. So you can't just say black holes have matter if the matter doesn't exist and everything just evaporates. It doesn't work like that. And so, as you heard, based on what I just said, they said everything spins. Well, the irony about that is that I have realized that hurricanes and galaxies are similar. I did not say they are the same. I'm talking to you, Neil. They are not the same. Duh. That's like saying an ape or a human are the same. They're not. They are related in terms of physics. As for the irony, what I have realized is that black holes are just empty space, like that of hurricanes. The center of a hurricane is just empty space. No wormholes, nothing. And so, if you were going to go inside of the center of a hurricane, you would see that the winds are completely calm. They're not violent in any way. They're mostly calm. And so, I found a picture of people taking certain wavelengths of galaxies. And this is what I found. As you can see, the wavelengths in radio, infrared, ultraviolet, etc. All, as you can see, the most energy in galaxies is the center core in every single one. The more energy you have in the center, that's when you have the most mass or star formation. Many people think that, oh yeah, black holes exist. But the irony about that is that they have failed to provide explanational proof. And another irony with these galaxies is that hurricanes work the same way. The more closer you are to the center of a hurricane, the more violent the winds are. And if you look at the structure of hurricanes, as you see, they spin, they have a center, and they have these little appendages or arms. And as you see, no black hole. And as I just mentioned earlier, with galaxies, the most energy or star formation is at the center. Just like the most energy in wind is at the center of a hurricane. And it's also the same thing that a hurricane moves through the atmosphere is like the same thing as a galaxy moving through space. They both move, they both spin, the structure is very similar, the physics characteristics are similar, and as you can see, hurricanes, no black holes. So the irony about that is that if hurricanes don't have black holes, why should galaxies? Another thing that I have realized is that redshift is also misleading. Just because something is red shifted doesn't automatically mean distance. That's like saying having a PhD does not always make you smart. It can, but it's not always the case. The same thing is with redshift. Redshift can mean distance, but it's not always 100%. An example of this would be our own star. In time, our star will one day be redshifted, meaning that it's not moving away towards us, it's actually moving towards us. So how does that apply? It doesn't. Another thing is that having a PhD also works the same way. A PhD can make you smart, but it doesn't mean that you are the so-called expert at everything. There are some people that are below you that may know more than you do, and there are some people below you that you may know more about. Another example of this is crows and parrots. For those animals have no PhDs whatsoever. However, if you were going to teach them or just observe them in the wild, you would realize that they are incredibly smart despite their brain size, and yet they have no PhD. So that just proves it to you that just because you have a PhD doesn't automatically make you smart. It can help you, but it's not guaranteed. And so many of the things that I have, and so a quote from Neil goes like this: if personal beliefs deny what's objectively true about the world, then they're more accurately called personal delusions. From Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so I find that to be ironic, because for a person who believes in black holes or general relativity, and yet it's basically nothing. He's basically, what I like to say, quoting himself. Because as I just proved it to you, general relativity is flawed. Time does not warp or bend. As I am throwing this battery, as you see, time is a construct and doesn't physically exist. You could say how long it takes this battery to exist, which is true. But the thing is, I'm not talking about time. I'm just talking about the physical characteristics of this battery. And so, as you see, time does not physically exist. It's a construct. The only reason why that this battery works in the way it is isn't because of general relativity or space or time. It's only affecting like this because of the nature of gravity. And to prove it, as I just did earlier in this video, the same thing is with that of a peacock feather. As I throw the battery up in the air, it falls in 1 second. But if I throw a bird feather up in the air, it takes a while to come down. It's not just because of time or space. It's, as I said, the way that gravity works between these two is size, shape, mass, and composition. It has nothing to do with space or time. So, space and time may not physically exist. Another thing is religion. Many people think that, they believe we are living in a simulation. They believe in this. Well, unfortunately, when it comes down to the universe, there is no believing in anything. You either accept it or you don't. The choice is yours. But apparently the universe does not care. After all, where was your lame God during the Holocaust? Or what about 9/11? Or what about all of the innocents who died at the witch trials, huh? Oh, and or what about the war in Ukraine and Israel? Where's your lame gods now? Oh wait, they're not. Oh wait, nothing happened. Oh wait, and in fact, why does God have to be a white dude, huh? Why not a black dude? What about a gay person? Why does it have to be a lame ass white dude as usual? In fact, different religions in the world, from Christianity to Muslim, whatever. And guess what? To add insult to injury to your religious bull crap, oh look, I'm so scared, going to hell for ripping a piece of paper no one cares about. Hey look, does this piece of battery acid that I care, does the element iron care within the battery that I care that I ripped a piece of paper based on religion? Or what about paper from a tree? Does the paper from a tree care? Ooh, so scared. No. The only ones who actually, does the universe care? No. The only ones who care are people. And apparently, no matter how many people die, no matter how many people you protect, no matter what you say or do, everyone dies in the end anyway. So, piss off with your lame-ass religion. And so, as I can see, no, God doesn't exist. In fact, people kill each other all the time. The witch trials, the war in Ukraine and in Israel, mothers, fathers, brothers, and even children die. And guess what? Does God come to their precious rescue? Or the thing about natural disasters like tornadoes and stuff like that, that their precious God is going to save them? I think not. There's a quote from the soldier from Team Fortress 2 that states, "If God had wanted you to live, he would not have created me." And so I would say that that totally agrees. If your God was so powerful, I would have been dead by now. But guess what? I ripped a piece of paper, and all religions, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of the major religions all around the world. And guess what? Nothing happened. And by the time you are watching this video, it's already too late. I already had, it takes hours of uploading. And by then, you're probably watching it, getting angry at me. Well, you're watching this, you have your own issue. Don't blame me, blame yourself. And so, if you can't take my criticism, you have yourself to blame. You can't sue me from your own stupidity. So, if you don't like how the real world works, well, maybe death is the answer for you. And if you say it's the afterlife or something like that, I don't see how suicide can be an issue. After all, you said it yourself. The afterlife is supposed to exist, or the fact that, like, oh, the afterlife is so fantastic, and people go to hell and this and that. Well, the irony about that, people kill each other all the time. And guess what? People kill animals all the time. In fact, how is your meat? Eat any meat lately? From all the KFC, the beef, the hamburgers you have? Tastes good, doesn't it? Oh, really? Do you have any idea where that meat comes from? All the innocent animals you have killed just to get that one burger? Congratulations, you played yourself. And I know for sure that people are saying, "Oh, where's your proof? Where's your proof?" I am getting that. Thank you very much. Here is your proof. And mind if I warning, if you're a little squeamish, look away. Because you wanted the truth, and I'm giving it to you. but I just wanted to, and so for your precious Big Mac or your precious beef or bacon, whatever, this is what really goes on. And what? You're just gonna tell me like, oh yeah, animals don't matter, they're selfless killers, or they don't matter, or anything like that, because no one cares and stuff like that? Oh really? And you try to tell me that you're going to heaven, but but people who support murder and stuff like that are going to hell because they killed an infant, or abortion and stuff like that? Yeah, bullshittery. Don't complain to me on how your religion is so pure when you're basically eating Big Macs and Wendy's and stuff like that, and all you're doing is supporting animal cruelty. Because unfortunately, you don't care about anyone but yourself. Congratulations, you're an ass. So, just like how ripping a piece of paper or burning the cross or burning the Bible does absolutely nothing, why should people who mistreat animals go to heaven? What's the difference of killing an infant? Like abortion. So, who cares? You're still killing, but people kill all the time. So what's the difference? No, really, think about it. What is the difference? You are so different, and yet you still kill. Congratulations, you played yourself. And so, with that out of the way, I will talk about to the real deal stuff. Many people, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and so many astronomers or scientists, say, heat death of the universe, anything will be further apart, nothing will happen again, yada yada, whatever. Okay, well, the irony about that is that you say the universe will be covered in darkness forever, nothing will ever happen again. However, I find that to be a little ironic, because you say nothing will happen again, and the universe will be at a true thermal equilibrium. Okay, that doesn't explain why anything needed to be created in the first place. It doesn't. Because if anything was at thermal equilibrium in the end, that doesn't explain why anything needed to be created in the first place if the universe was supposedly at thermal equilibrium in the beginning. An irony about that? Another thing is that, as I mentioned before, many people say, oh, there's an afterlife, or Jesus this, or blah 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 that. Well, if you really want to know what death is, simply close your eyes. Do you see objects? Do you see your computer? Do you see your face or your family? It's a simple answer. No. The only thing you see is darkness. And another irony about that is, what do you remember before you were born? It's a simple answer. Nothing. Nothing but darkness. So, why should the so-called afterlife be different? The only thing you have to concern about in life or nature is that life is unfair, or at least the consequence of being alive is unfair. The only thing that is fair in life is death. No matter if you are Martin Luther King Jr., if you are Hitler, if you're Donald Trump Jr., or Donald Trump, or Obama, or whoever you are, the only thing you have to concern about is that death is the same for everyone. Death is basically bias. Everyone may die differently, but the experience of death is the same, and that is final. The only thing that is unfair is life, as you can't just go to car shows when you're dead, or you can't eat food when you're dead. You can't see your family when you're dead, because my grandma instance, on my dad's side, passed away in 2019. And do you think that she's alive magically? No, she is dead. And as a consequence of that, she is dead, I'm alive. Can I see her? No, I can't, because she's dead. So, and another thing is that your brain is responsible for chemical messages, voice, speech, hearing, all of that. So, an irony, what I like to say, or at least what I've been hearing, is that people like Neil say, oh, like we can't remember our lives because we never had one. Okay, seems fair, but a more general explanation of why we can't remember our lives is because as our brains are not infinite. They're not a infinite storage unit. Think of a computer. The more our brains are the computer and the heart is the battery. And so, if you know anything about human reproduction, for humans to be born, their brains are very, very small. However, when it comes to a brain like many adults have, their brains are basically about 3 pounds. So you can't pop out a baby that has a 3-pound a 3 pound of a brain, because it would kill them and possibly the mother. So the thing is that you can't have too little information. Take the Zika virus, otherwise the brain won't develop thoroughly enough. And you can't have too much information, otherwise too much information can kill you. And so what it will happen to all your memories is that they will be completely I wouldn't say destroyed, but basically forgotten. No one would even remember on who you are, what you remember, or what your name was. You'll just go right back to the loop. It's like kind of like this. I can find a good, oh yeah. It's basically like this. As you grow up, your brain develops and you have memory. This would be like an example of our brain right now. Like looking at objects, observing objects, and why not whatever. However, as we die, all that memory gets turned into a blank slate, which means anything about the picture that you just realized just now will soon be forgotten. It'll just be born into another blank state. Another thing is that people say is that you're not really you. You're just a manifestation or a clone of yourself. Well, there's a difference between copying and a clone. For all of us, everything in my room, including me, is made of atoms. And so the thing is that with copying, I can easily copy one gene to, or one copy of something to the next. And so with cloning, that's like taking the same exact image and making a clone out of something. What I mean by this for cloning is that take basically Star Wars: The Clone Wars, for example. Jango Fett was the original clone. All the other clones were basically clones from Jango's DNA. However, Jango Fett was actually the original clone. All the other clones were only created based on Jango's DNA. The same thing happens in nature. You, as the individual, are the real person. It's just that for cloning, you are the original, and someone's taking your genetic DNA and cloning it for someone else to make an exact, or for someone to make a clone of yourself. And so with that, it's like not saying you are one person, you die, and the other person comes around. It doesn't, because why go to 2 when you can just start at 1 all over again? Doesn't make sense. And so it's a cycle of once you die and you'll come back again. You die, you come back again. The only way that your clones could exist is if you exist, and then someone takes your DNA, clones you, and then clones that person, and then so on. The copies repeat. But the thing is it's just possibly an endless cycle of you being created and destroyed, created and destroyed. And so that would be an example. And so that's an example right there. Why would you go from, that's like saying, why would you go to 1? Why would you go to 2 when you can just reset at 1? Basically, once you die, and you're going to be, and your clone is going to be alive in the next point. But that doesn't make any sense, because why would you start at a higher number when you can just reset at 1? Lowest energy, stuff like that should be plain and simple. And so the thing is, another thing is that many people, and so another thing, or the last thing I want to talk about, is the difference between randomness, determinism, and super determinism. For many people, and so the thing with random, and so many people say, oh, like, yes, we are living in a random universe. However, I would say that's kind of I would disagree with that, because the way that random works versus determinism and superdeterminism is that randomness means complete chaos. No order, no structure, nothing. And that means that rules can be broken and bent. With determinism, that means that rules can be bent but not broken. Well, back to randomness. An example of randomness would be Pokemon cards. At a Pokemon card pack, there is no specific structure. There's no telling of what cards you're going to get. It's utter chaos. There's no determinism there's no way you can really tell of what cards are inside. And an example of determinism, as what I just said, would be nature. You can bend the rules of nature, but you can't necessarily break them. And what I mean by that is that if you look at every single galaxy, no matter how far, no matter how bleak it is, no matter how many copies, or no matter how many things are created, there's always a specific structure to it. An example of this would be galaxies. Here are some images, some not AI generated bullcrap, some real images from NASA on galaxies. And I don't know if you guys can see it that well, but as you can clearly see, every single one, no matter how far or how close they are, every single one is a similar based structure, a similar disc-like shape with arms and a center. There is no square galaxy, there is no cone galaxy, there's none of that. Every single galaxy is a disc-like shape. And what that means by determinism is that the way that determinism works is that the rules can be bent but not broken, which means that no matter what galaxy you are, galaxies could appear right here. They could appear right here, or up there and down here. But they cannot be a square galaxy. They will never be a cone galaxy. Galaxies can only be created through a disc-like shape. That's an example of determinism, which means that the universe we live in, or not just that, but also nature itself, is determined, which means rules can be bent but not broken, which means and so with super determinism means no matter how many times you change it, it cannot be bent or broken. An example of this is you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And the reason why is because who you are is who you will be forever. No matter how many times you live and die and repeat the cycle, who you are is who you will be forever. Because the irony is that if you wanted to be a dinosaur or a dog, if you think about history, you had many chances to become whatever you wanted to be at your own heart's desire. So the irony is, why out of all things a human? What? Just why? And so the thing is, no matter how many times you live and die, who you are is who you will be forever. So once a human, always a human. Once a poison ivy, always poison ivy. And so no matter how many times you try to tweak this rule, you can't bend it, you can't break it. You are a prime example of super determinism. You can once who you are is who you will be for eternity, and nothing you will do will change it. So that basically completes the manifestation of life and death. So as a conclusion, even though that all of us are going to die one day, and everything in this room that I have did, or anything, or not just in my room, but anyone's room, really, everything that they have built will be ash, and all of their family members, everything from your great days, from your horrible days, will be forgotten. And so the point of this video is not about saying on how bad life and death are. There's always good things about life, and there's always good and bad things about life, and there's always good and bad about death. So the point of this lecture, or in a way, was basically to understand of what life is. There is no Mars planet that we can just simply colonize and call it a day. Doesn't work like that. It's easy to destroy something, but it's hard to create it. And so a thing is that don't worry about Mars. Mars, no one cares. You already live on a planet that has everything you could want. Water, toys, media, basically anything you can imagine. So why would you need to go to Mars for a planet that's literally covered in dust? It seems to me that people have given up on humanity and say, you know what, screw it, we're screwed anyway. And so that may be true. No matter what we do, everyone is going to die. Which, that's true. No matter what thing we do, everyone is going to die. But how long or how quickly or how slowly you want to die can change. And so, if anything, don't worry about Mars. If anything, if you really cared about life that much, then you should stand up from greedy politicians and say taking care of this planet. Because even if you were going to go to Mars, you're screwed anyway, because growing up or basically growing things there, eventually you have a small dome of food, but you keep on populating, and eventually you don't have a lot of resources. So and eventually fights will break out. So basically, no matter what thing you do, people will die. And not just that, not just about the Mars thing, but also people in general, no matter what thing you say or do. In fact, no matter what thing you say or do, people will always die. And like, if you're saying like there's always going to be a group of people that always wait until the last minute, like natural disasters. People will take the science seriously and move away. However, there are some people that will never hear the warnings or just don't care until it's too late. The same thing with climate change. Many people take climate change seriously and they know it's real. However, there's always going to be a group of people that won't care until the very, very last minute. And so, when you have people like Neil trying to like convince people to believe in Earth the way it is, it's not physically possible. And what I mean by that is that no matter what you say or do, there's always going to be a group of people who don't care no matter what you say. In fact, many people watching this are not going to have like tons of likes or tons of views because no one cares. And that's currently okay. But no matter what thing you say or do, it's a game. No matter what thing you say or do, it's a game you can't win. An example of this is that you can watch Superman versus Mr. Terrific on YouTube. Like the same thing with guns or trying to stop people from doing smoking or weed or stuff like that. It's a game, no matter what thing you say or do, you can't win. Here is basically a little clip of it. Here's basically a little clip from it from a YouTuber called Villain. You can watch the full video, but here's a quick demonstration of it.
People would resent us, and they'd be alive to do that. Check. He needs of the lives we'd save. Check.
Smoking.
What?
Cigarettes kill far more. People keep smoking even though they know it's killing them. Their families can only watch them die.
And?
You want to save lives? Jail every smoker. And imprison anyone who speeds. Traffic fatalities are huge. Check. Lock up everyone who leaves a dangerous dog unchained. Check.
I can handle him.
Finally, we kill anyone who doesn't recycle. Checkmate.
You're not going to help me, are you?
No, sir. I am not.
So basically, no matter what thing you say or do, people will always be people. And there's really nothing that much you can do about it. So, the thing is that the lesson of this video is to tell you that life and death are not the exact same. There is no afterlife, there is no gods. Anything you're doing alive, you will not be able to do when you're dead. So, if you cherish life so much, you would be thankful for the life you have instead of just thinking of going to Mars or some other bullcrap. Because no matter what there's always going to be someone or something out there who has a worse life than you. So, be thankful for what you have and appreciate for the life you are given, because you might never know what things will pop up. So, take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your finite lives. You deserve them, like any other animal and plant on this other plant in this planet. Don't stress about Don't stress about death too much, because death happens to all. Appreciate and respect life and death for what they are, not for what they have been. Another thing you can do is watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I recommend that movie to you guys as well. Until that day we meet again. Basically, until that day we meet again in another reality or who knows what. In that time, I hope you guys enjoyed this little lecture that I've been doing for the last couple months, and peace out.